Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jamesville-DeWitt Central High School here in DeWitt, New York, for this marquee matchup between two of the best lacrosse programs in upstate New York. Hi, everybody. Sam Gelfand here alongside my broadcast partner, Nick Dekaney, as the West Genesee Wildcats are here to take on the Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams, and the Wildcats get the first face-off. This promises to be an excellent contest, Nick. West Genesee 6-3, the Red Rams 4-2, coming off of a 16-5 steamrolling win last night against Oswego.
Yeah, the Red Rams have certainly had an up-and-down season to this point. Had a couple of tough losses against Victor and ESM back-to-back. Were able to get back on track last night against ESM.
And a great shot, and immediately the first point on the board for West Genesee. And it's Jack Mellon, the Binghamton commit, who breaks the ice.
Yeah, Mellon just not wasting any time with this one, getting right to the point, finding that penetration within that Jamesville-DeWitt defense, and just getting on the scoreboard early.
And so West Genesee already up 1-0. Red Rams get the second face-off. An unassisted goal for Mellon.
Yeah, and that's going to be the key, one of the keys to the game for the Red Rams this game. They have to be able to put up a fight in the face-off category, at least half of these, to be able to guarantee them some type of possession. Against last game, or a couple of games ago, playing Victor at home, they were absolutely dominated on the face-off side of the game, and that's really what ended up costing them. Very little time of possession and such little time to really set up their offense.
And set up they did, although they could not connect. And West Genesee, at least temporarily, out of harm's way. That's Shane Stout in the goal for the Wildcats. He has a .565 save percentage this season so far. And now the Wildcats back on the prowl. We thank you so much for joining us here live on JDTV for this marquee matchup. Now, once again, the Red Rams punching above their weight today. West Genesee, a Class B team. Jamesville-DeWitt, Class C. That being said, they have very similar pedigrees of success.
Yeah, and though they're playing a class above, this is really the norm here for Jamesville-DeWitt lacrosse. They have to, and they've been used to playing these higher-ranked teams.
And just like that, another goal on the board for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and this time a little bit of play behind the cage, able to draw a double team and another defender, which leaves another offender wide open, and they've already opened this one up 2-0.
And we knew it'd be tough for the...
Goal by number 27, John Genesee.
John Genesee with the goal. His third of the season.
And that right there was the type of face-off play they need from Alex Binzak. Unable to come up with possession, but got to stay aggressive on that side of the ball.
And in addition, an assist, the 20th of the season for Liam Burns, the absolute stud.
Yeah, and that's another thing that the Red Rams are going to have to key in if they want to come out with a victory here tonight, is they have to guard Burns as a team. He's such an elite level offender and can really bite you both with his own play and setting up his teammates. So have to guard him as a team, communicate, and be able to stop him.
And so West Genesee has a very quick attack. They certainly like to pass it around and keep up the momentum.
And if they're able to get face-off on face-off and play their fast-paced tempo, this game could get out of hand very quickly.
But there's a save for Ian McIntyre, his first of the day. Now, let me tell you, the last time we saw boys lacrosse here against Victor, the stats may say that it was a 16-goal game for Ian McIntyre, but let me tell you something. I went back, I watched the footage, and I went frame by frame. He had 25 saves that day.
Yeah, despite what the scoreboard may have said, he put on an absolute clinic, and saves per game and the save percentage is one of the few categories the Red Rams are actually leading the Wildcats in. 11.8 saves per game coming into this game tonight, and a 61% save percentage. So Ian McIntyre has absolutely played that role that he needs to play so far.
And West Genesee just mowed down Sam Brazel. And you have to imagine they're going to stay physical today.
And especially given the youth of this Red Rams attack, might be a little bit undersized compared to some of the teams they're used to seeing within Class B. So going to want to take advantage of that in their physicality.
So right now, that's Tashala Kelly controlling. Though it is turned over. So the Red Rams still looking for an answer to 2 unanswered so far goals, and if anyone's going to be able to do it, it'll be Sam Brazel or Gannon Kessler. Though Matt Keeler currently controlling.
Yeah, this is something we were discussing earlier before the game began, is that Jamesville-DeWitt has such little senior starters on their team. Really, the majority of the time, it's just Skellinger and Keeler that are starting as seniors.
It's a very young team, the Red Rams, and even though they have a record of 4-2, you could call this a rebuilding year. Especially after losing such stars in the offseason like Johnny Kibe, Tanner Burns, J-Mo McLaughlin, and as we've certainly learned recently, Scott Reeves.
Yeah, and some may say that this team might be worse than Red Ram teams in the past, and it's tough to disagree with that, but it's important for these players especially to get a feel of what that might taste like and have an idea of how they need to rebuild and the type of competition level that they need to return to in order to maintain that dominance. And obviously this is still a very good team, 4-2 on the season, certainly a threat to win the sectional championship, so nothing's out of play yet.
Now here's the starting quarterback, River Oudamoul, who is forced out by some very aggressive defense from Ben Skellinger. Cutting towards the goal and over the top. Ryan Mahoney couldn't make it happen, the Mercyhurst commit.
And funny enough, Skellinger also a Mercyhurst commit, so a little bit of teammate rivalry already in this game.
It's kind of scary to think about how they'll work together. But I'll tell you what will always work, Ian McIntyre in front of the goal. A .644 save percentage right now, but a couple of games ago, before that game against Victor, leading all of Section 3.
Yeah, and he may not intimidate you with his physical prowess, but he will with his style of play. He's so dominant in that goal and does such a good job in filling the role that they lost last season.
He's an extremely quick goalie, making up for that lack of size with some extreme speed. He is currently committed to Florida Southern, which is one of the best D2 athletic programs in the entire United States, regardless of sport.
And, you know, I actually had him in my public speaking class earlier this year. Let me tell you, there's not many people that'll get you more fired up to see a boys' high school basketball game than Ian McIntyre.
He wasn't even on the team.
No, he was, actually. But, man, did he get you amped up in that class?
He was on the team?
I believe so.
Oh, well, they did have like 25 players. I mean, I probably forgot a couple at this rate.
Might be a little easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yes, Sam Brazel swinging around, and he is pushed off and cannot make that shot happen.
And even though they missed, I like the aggressiveness that we're seeing from the Red Rams early in this. Establish an offensive presence. Let them know that you are there and ready to play.
And Gannon Kessler can't get on target either.
Yeah, Kessler just trying to press up on that really tough angle on that left side. Not giving him a lot of breathing room is West Genesee.
But the Red Rams now utilizing their time of possession, and it's certainly something they have to do, although they do turn it over here. And the Red Rams very lucky that that pass didn't get any closer to the goal. If that was on target, they would have been in a world of hurt.
Yeah, consider it a best-case scenario right there for the Red Rams, because when West Genesee is out in transition like that, moving at their type of speed, there's not many teams that'll get in their way.
Clock. And another turnover. The West Genesee Wildcats, so persistent, so tenacious. And the bouncer of a shot from Nelson Hudgens, well, it bounced a little too much. So now West Genesee will recombobulate out at the 40-yard line.
And unlike a lot of different offensive teams, they like to play pretty far out from the goal. You can see one of their middies on the 40-yard line. Moved in a little bit now, but they like to space out that field and really use every little bit of inch of it to their advantage.
As another shot goes sailing out of play, the Wildcats are going to have to shape up with these missed shots. They can't afford to have too many of them, especially considering how proficient the Red Rams are on offense as well. This could turn into a slugfest. And they're no slouch on defense either, as demonstrated. And right now, Ben Skellinger just has to get that out of harm's way. He does find another man, and now it's Matt Keeler who's going to take that across the field. Bad pass, though, intended for Eli Goldberg, and the Wildcats pounce on it.
Yeah, just rushing a little bit too much there. You know, there's no shot clock in lacrosse. You have no really time to time restraint, so you can take your sweet time coming up the field and setting up your offense. Make sure you get a good look before you are over with the possession.
And time of possession could become a big factor in this game, considering historically, as we head to a timeout, both of these teams have traditionally been very closely matched. As we'll take a look at that now. This is the 12th meeting between these two teams all time since 2010. JD actually leads the series 9-2, but the last time West Genesee took it, April 18th, 2015, and they only won that by 1 goal. On average, the final score in a contest between these two teams is 11-8. And in fact, the last time that West Genesee won on this field, well, actually, this turf hadn't even been installed yet. It was in April 19th, 2014, the old JD Stadium, where West Genesee won that game 11-9.
Yeah, it's been a long, storied continuance of dominance for the Red Rams over, we can even say, perhaps maybe the last decade or so, at least under Coach Archer. I mean, they've just been so efficient and such a prowess and a force to be reckoned with.
And this is what happened the last time these two teams faced off. It was May 29th, 2021. And there's the difference that Scott Reeves made, the best face-off man in Section 3, with 89.7% of the face-offs. It's almost unreal to look at it. The Red Rams maintained possession, and that's why they were able to take the contest 15-10. Although West Genesee was actually slightly more accurate and did better with their saves as well. I believe that was Shane Stout, who was in goal that game as well. The Red Rams also got more ground balls. So when the ball gets loose, that could be another factor that could come into this one.
Yeah, and you talk about the shot percentage. When you look back at that possession percentage, you can afford to miss a couple more shots here and there if you're able to really control the offensive time the way Scott Reeves was able to do.
And control it, both of these teams will have to do, because if those teams are so close historically, then you have to prevent the other team from getting opportunities.
And we do have to mention that's a much different Red Rams squad than we're looking at this year. But, yes, these teams in time of possession will be extremely important in who comes out with the W here tonight.
Well, perhaps most importantly, it's the same two primary attackers for the Red Rams, Gannon Kessler and Sam Brazel, who both had monstrous seasons last year. Even if Ethan Kesslering and Johnny Kibe outclassed him, as they would anyone. But speaking of outclassed, Ian McIntyre is in a class of his own.
Yeah, it really just doesn't shy away from any attacker that he's facing up against, whether or not they be committed to a Division I school or someone who really doesn't get a lot of playing time. He is such a force in that goal, and he never backs down.
Got to get the clock adjusted. And now the Red Rams, who have been stonewalled in this first quarter, have to get something going. You can't go through the first quarter and not get a goal up. That's just so demoralizing.
Yeah, precisely. They have to get something in right now.
And there it is, off the stick of Aiden Bates. And the Red Rams are still trailing 2-1, but they have one on the board.
Goal by number 7, Aiden Bates.
Yeah, Bates just goes ahead and takes this himself from about the 25-yard line. Just absolutely uncorks a rocket. And that's just what they needed, a little bit of juice to get them going at the end of this first quarter and give them some life.
Aiden Bates now has 10 goals on the season. And the Red Rams stay in this one.
And that faceoff again going to the Red Rams, so now they lead 3-1 in that category and give themselves another opportunity here to tie this up.
Alex Binsack with a face-off percentage of .610 coming into this game. Also has a goal and an assist this season. Which, although he does not have the same face-off percentage that Scott Reeves had, goal and assist-wise, he has surpassed him.
Yeah, well, pretty tough to back up a season like Scott Reeves that he had last season, but
Yeah, .955 save percentage.
I mean, that's just out of this world. But Binsack has certainly done an exceptional job so far, and he's only getting better with each game.
And the Red Rams threatening to strike one more time. Swerving around, Gannon Kessler trying to do something, anything. Has to send it out to Matt Keeler.
But just look how feisty this West Genesee defense is. They always have a stick right up in your face, and they're not afraid to give you a little bit of push and a little bit of shove here and there.
Well, I mean, the West Genesee team is legendary, and you have to be legendary for a reason. They don't give out that term. You can't buy the legendary tag on the street. As there's a very nice deflection, courtesy of the goalie, Shane Stout.
Yeah, and just under a minute left to play within this first quarter. Now's their opportunity to strike.
And the bouncer attempted by Eli Goldberg didn't work out.
We got to check this out, though. Eli Goldberg just did a Superman dive to the goal line in order to keep possession for the Red Rams. That's the type of hustle you just can't teach.
And that's the type of hustle you need against a program like West Genesee, who had an off year last season, but remain one of the most premier teams in all of lacrosse. And another save for Stout. In fact, in 2021, the Wildcats went 6-11, which was their first losing season, wait for it, since 1967.
I'm kind of speechless right now.
That's right. 1968 to 2020. They never had a losing season.
50-plus years, and things now getting a little bit chippy between some of the players, but certainly uncharacteristic, to say the least, of last season, but seems that this year returning to the West Genesee of old.
And with one quarter down, they lead over the Red Rams 2-1. And it's looking like this is going to be a close one. Both of these teams have such ferocious defenses, but can threaten to strike at any moment.
And for the Red Rams, it's going to come down to how efficient can they be with their possessions that they're given. They're doing well on the face-off category right now. They need to keep that up, but be a little bit more tactical and a little bit more precise when it comes to taking those shots.
Let's take a look at how these two teams are doing this season. As we mentioned, the Red Rams have a record of 4-2. The Wildcats a record of 6-3. You can think of these ratings kind of like Madden ratings in terms of how good a team is. Comes from the website Lacrosse Numbers. The Wildcats have the Red Rams outclassed 84-81. So it's still pretty close, but you look at the strength of schedule, and both have almost equal strength of schedule to their rating. Both are playing teams that are only about 2 points below them, which means that they face tough competition day in and day out, regardless of opponent. The Red Rams do outscore their opponents by more than the Wildcats do. An average of 3 1/3 goals per game versus 1 1/3 for the Wildcats. However, in terms of Section 3 rankings, the Wildcats do have the Red Rams beat there. Although I have to think a lot of it is because the Red Rams had a late start to their season compared to most teams. They have played, I mean, look at that, 6-3 versus 4-2. That's 6 games for the Red Rams versus 9 for the Wildcats. And rating is accumulated over time. So the Red Rams just need a little bit more time to shine, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and not to mention that their strength of schedule is almost on par with the Wildcats despite being a class below them. So it just gives a testament to the type of teams that Coach Archer has on his schedule and the challenges that these Red Rams have faced, but yet 4-2 still despite that.
I mean, they fell by 2 goals to East Syracuse Manoa, who are actually almost of an equal rating to the Red Rams. They fell to Victor, who, as we know, are one of the best programs in the entire United States, ranked number 23 in the United States to the last time I checked. They're going to be playing Horseheads later on in the season. It's a brutal, brutal schedule that the Red Rams are undertaking, but at the same time, they haven't lost 5 games in a season since 2004.
And I mean, this is just what they're used to, is just you're going to play the best competition because you are one of the best competition within the state. So no surprise there. These players are ready for it, and it's just up to them to get the job done.
Yeah, you want to talk about winning season streaks. The Red Rams haven't had a losing season since 1999. So right now, they have a longer active streak than the Wildcats do.
Yeah, and really we're just watching 2 historic programs go to battle in what's potentially coming down to maybe the last couple minutes of this one.
Yeah, this is a treat to have this game here for you live on JDTV, and we're happy that you're here to watch it because if you're a fan of lacrosse, these are the types of games that you get excited for. Regardless of whether or not you're a fan of either team, the quality of play on display is just so high, as demonstrated there with a quick West Genny goal scored by Jack Mellon, his second of the game.
Yeah, and Mellon just ripping it out from outside that 12 meters. No hesitation, and Ian McIntyre looked a little bit stunned on that one.
And why shouldn't he be? That was an absolute rocket. Jack Mellon not firing blind. There will be rain at the JD Stadium today as long as he is hurling lacrosse balls. That was a reference to a 90s song. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that one flew right over my head.
That was the song No Rain by Blind Melon. The reference isn't as good if you have to explain it.
Yeah, just doesn't quite have the same spark.
However,
However,
but there's some parents out there who will be happy.
I'm sure there will. However, I'm not one of them. I'm not a parent either.
Yeah, I was going to
thankfully.
say, to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah, correct. However,
be responsible, kids.
The Red Rams are doing an excellent job at responding to these West Genesee goals. We're able to get a possession there, but got to be able to get a cleaner look. This Genny defense is doing such an exceptional job.
Well, what you have to do as a team is simply respond immediately to adversity. You can't let it get to you.
But it's simple things like that. Like, they got to keep the ball within their sticks to give themselves that opportunity.
And right now, the Red Rams fighting away. Once again, that's Ben Scalinger, who's been real tenacious today.
And he just knocked the stick out of that attacker from West Genesee. Just imposing his will.
And there's nothing the Red Rams defense wants more than to see the Wildcats scared stickless.
And I think we have to have this conversation because I think it's pretty even. Red Ram versus Wildcat. Like, what are you taking?
In terms of an actual Red Ram versus an actual Wildcat?
Yeah.
You know, that's a good question. I think I have to go with a Wildcat just because they are natural predators, whereas Rams are not.
But there it is again. Sam Brazel, a couple feet away from the goal, but that pass just slips out of his hands. But the shots are there.
The shots are there, the opportunities are there, but so is the West Genny defense, and that is the most important factor of them all right now, as there's 9 minutes left in the first half. And also keep in mind, there's 3 minutes played through the second quarter, only one stoppage so far. These two teams going at it as Matt Keeler has it swatted away by Shane Stout. What an impressive save.
Yeah, a highlight reel type save there from Stout. That one was going top right, and just lightning fast reflexes, able to jot that one away.
And it goes all the way back to midfield. Matt Keeler fighting for it along with several others, and West Genesee comes up on the winning end. But a great save by Ian McIntyre. You would expect nothing less from him at this point.
No, that's just another day in the office for the Big Mac.
And Gannon Kessler put everything he had behind that shot, though it didn't work out.
But there it is again. He loves to stay really kind of horizontal to the goal, but it gives him such a tough angle to shoot on. And obviously much easier said than done to give yourself more space, but being able to shoot a little bit more vertical within that goal allows you a little bit more freedom.
And so Luke Patchen shakes his man, passes it over. Though he doesn't generate an opportunity from it, that pesky Wildcat defense at it again.
Flag down on the field, though. Likely to be on Jenny for checking, and there flies another one.
And West Jenny finds themselves going to the bad boy box for a little bit. And hey, the Red Rams could use a man-up opportunity.
They certainly could, but the thing is they have to take advantage of it, right? You can't be gifted this chance and then not capitalize. You have to be able to score and draw this thing to within one.
The Red Rams are not a team used to being down. They've been down more this season than probably any other in recent memory, but it's still not a comfortable position for them. They're not used to having to be underdogs.
But you can see just how far Kessler's getting chased out of that goal.
So the Red Rams may have to snipe. And the shot there was from a very strange angle. That one wasn't going to work out. That was more desperation than anything.
And that's what I'm saying. This Jenny defense is forcing them to have to take those shots that are so tough to hit.
And it doesn't matter how tough it is. When you're Sam Brazil, he will prevail.
Red Ram goal by number 23, Sam Brazil. Assist to number 4, Matthew.
Yeah, that's the Sam Brazil we're used to seeing, and I'm glad that he's able to find something hit the back of the net. Such a big confidence booster, especially for a younger athlete like himself. But now the Red Rams cooking with a little bit of gas.
Sam Brazil wanted he could join the 101st Airbornes. He just has that sort of accuracy from long distance. And right now, we've mentioned it briefly, the face-off percentage for the Red Rams may be a boon for them as this game continues.
That one, however, was within the Red Rams' possession, but I think they lost it going out of bounds. But you're correct. They're doing an exceptional job, and it's really what they need.
But right now, the Red Rams on defense. That's Jack Mellon, who's threatening for a hat trick, though they pass it around. Liam Burns hanging out behind the X.
Yeah, giving themselves as much space as possible to set that one up.
And an excellent save by Ian McIntyre, shutting down Zach Ryan.
And McIntyre earned the right to be hyped about that goal. West Genesee had a perfectly drawn-up play, a beautiful opportunity, one-on-one with the Big Mac. But, of course, there's no 4-for-4 there.
No, you go one-on-one with the Big Mac, you feel the heartburn. That is a very large caloric intake necessary.
Maybe that's the next food we got to try on air. Get a
Yeah,
big.
well, Well, let's see if they pay us first.
Good point. Maybe.
What, you think I'm doing this for free?
Maybe we should get the Big Mac on air. How about that for a girls' game? Something like that?
Well, you know, we actually have a field mic here in the press box. It's meant for, like, football referees to be able to call the penalties from down there. Do you think we could get McIntyre to put it on during a game?
You know, as much as I would love to see that, something tells me that high school athletes wouldn't do the best job at being mic'd up and being able to censor, potentially.
That's totally fair.
As you're mic'd up.
We would need to put them on a 5-second delay.
Certainly. And create a mute button.
Well, we have a mute button, just it's for everyone, not just for him. The uncensored JDTV broadcast, still a figment of our imagination, as much as we'd like to see it.
One day, maybe.
One day. And another shot off the mark. Coming in now, Charlie Lockwood, the only freshman on the Wildcats roster. And when you see a freshman on a team full of juniors and seniors, you know either, as there's another save by McIntyre, it's automatic. When you see a freshman on a roster full of juniors and seniors, you know there's got to be something special about him. And Lockwood certainly is, with 15 goals and 6 assists on this season.
Yeah, and was their team leader in assists the last game. A huge win against Cicero North Syracuse. Had 2 assists in that one and played a huge role in that offensive attack.
Though Lockwood shut down by McIntyre, but he's not alone in that fact, certainly. Just about everyone has been.
You can kind of start to feel the momentum shifting within the Red Rams' direction now. McIntyre with that huge save. That ball goes out of bounds, and now they've got a golden opportunity to tie this thing up.
And McIntyre controlling right now. Out to Skellinger. And the Red Rams cross the midfield threshold. And the whistles will blow.
Yeah, and Coach Archer likes the numbers that he has right now, wants to be able to call a timeout with his own possession and draw up a play that can ensure them a good look.
So speaking of, why don't we take a quick look? Well, actually, you know what? Before that, we've got a unique graphic today. I like when we do these. It's like kind of a special occasion for us and us only. But let's take a look at this. What does it take? So comparing here how the Red Rams did against West Genesee last year versus how they did against Victor this year. Now, I think it's fair to say that they're kind of comparable as teams. Obviously, Victor's a little bit better, but they're both very large, historic Class B programs. And as you can see, it's kind of night and day in most regards. The Red Rams' face-off percentage suffered against Victor, although we haven't seen that yet today. The time of possession was much worse against Victor. And the save percentage, actually, I would say is comparable so far. However, ground balls may be an issue. They got 41 against West Genesee last year, only 19 against Victor just last week. And here's something that we haven't really looked at all this season. 14 penalties against Victor. Led to a lot of man-down opportunities, which led to a lot more Victor goals. So they're going to have to play clean lacrosse today as well.
And especially when you go into a game where you know this team might have the upper hand in terms of talent level, you have to kind of come up with that in some other category, whether that be discipline, whether that be hustle, and some other component of the game. You have to be able to even that, and they weren't able to do that against Victor.
Although I think it's safe to say that so far, it looks like they're more on the left category than they are on the right today.
I would certainly agree with that, but got to maintain that and be able to keep up the pressure that they're putting on Jenny right now.
And back underway now. Keeping up the pressure the Red Rams do, although scooped up by Stout, who is a stout defensive presence in goal.
Yeah, and can't be mad at Bates for taking that shot. Had a beautiful look at the goal. Shot it at the right spot, but Stout is just a brick wall.
Here's Tashala Kelly with some fancy moves. He's a sophomore, by the way.
Yeah, I feel like, maybe it just be this year, but we see so much more underclassmen on these varsity level teams than I think we've seen really in years past.
It could be this year. I mean, COVID has caused a big shakeup in every sport for roster-wise. People who don't want to play just for safety purposes. So a lot more underclassmen are getting opportunities. As there's a scrum near midfield, and the Red Rams will come up with it. Bates now.
But right there, they're able to make up for it in the hustle category. Out hustling West Jenny, able to pick up that ground ball, grant them a possession.
And the Red Rams slowing it down, hoping that they can make something happen here. That's Ian Delpha passing it around with Sam Brazel. Surprisingly, Gannon Kessler been rather silent so far today. The Red Rams will need him to wake up. 2 minutes remaining in the first half.
And you best believe that West Jenny was game planning for Kessler probably all week long, knew that he was the top offensive threat along with Brazel, but been able to really shut him down so far tonight.
So Sam Rosa gives it back to Stout. And Stout sends it way downfield, and the Red Rams there to greet Ben Chamberlain.
Yeah, and that was Ryan Brazel laying the hit on Chamberlain to be able to pop that ball out and switch things on the turnover.
And now a timeout taken by West Genesee. Speaking of, we've talked so much about the Red Rams defense and the way they've been able to shut down teams. Let's take a look at their score report for today. This is a heat map of how teams have fared against Jamesville-DeWitt in this season. This is all teams, not just West Genesee. And the darker the color is, the better they shoot. Now, it kind of goes without saying that you're going to shoot best from near the goal. But it is also of note that McIntyre seems to have something of a weakness on this right side. We haven't really seen it today, though.
Yeah, no weakness in his game that apparent here tonight, but that's an interesting point that you bring up. So, obviously West Jenny doesn't have the access that we do to the Jamesville-DeWitt huddle, but, maybe they take a look at this and switch up their game plan.
Well, I mean, I think if you think about it physically, I mean, let's draw a stick figure because we can with this, right? So here's Ian McIntyre, and he is holding his stick as a righty. So the stick is right here. If someone comes around the goal this way and drops it in here, it's harder for him to turn that stick over to the other side when it's naturally like that on the right side.
Yeah, and I don't think you could have drawn it up much better than that. Big props to you on the illustration, but that certainly makes sense, right? Because you have to more distance to cover going across your body as opposed to just flipping it down or up right next to you.
So hopefully none of the West Genesee coaches are watching this, especially since smart devices are banned on the sidelines per NFHS rules.
But you wonder if that's something that teams really think about before going into a game, almost like in baseball, right? You have a left-hand pitcher going against a righty batter. You're going to game plan differently than you would against someone who's a lefty hitter.
Well, I would have to argue that you're not doing your due diligence as a coach if you're not thinking about things like that.
But when it comes to lacrosse, I don't think I've ever heard anyone really talk about that in terms of goalies, probably because they're most of the time pretty even on both sides. But interesting that we're able to reveal that.
And these are the kinds of insights that you only find on JDTV, folks. As West Genesee once again threatening to score. But then again, what's new?
Yeah, and they would love to get one more up on the board before going into halftime and go in with a 2-point lead.
And McIntyre will prevent one. McIntyre remains a brick wall in front of the net.
So yeah, if I'm West Genesee, I'm certainly holding this ball until maybe 15 seconds left and making sure that you get the last shot within this half.
So West Genesee will hold on to this, and it's been a low-scoring affair so far, but It's not without precedent. I believe it was their matchup in 2012 where the final score was something like 4-3. Sometimes these two teams will just shut each other down because their defenses are both so proficient.
Oh, and it looked like he was in the crease. No goal.
No goal! Well, play's going to restart, so we'll show you that replay afterwards. That is the end of the second quarter.
And what a dramatic one at that.
Yeah, let's take another look at it.
Yeah, it looked like he kind of just fell into the goal and was able to punch it in, but within that goalie's crease, so they'll wave that one off, and Jamesville able to stay within one going to the halftime. You better believe that one will come up big going down the stretch.
And you better believe you're going to want to stay tuned to JDTV. We'll be back in 10 minutes with the start of half number 2. Don't you dare go any Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the JD Stadium here in DeWitt, New York, for this contest between the West Genesee Wildcats and the Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams. Opening face-off now to start quarter number 3, and the Red Rams take another. It's been a low-scoring and very close affair so far. Both of these teams have been extremely evenly matched. It's kind of been the common thread between this whole thing.
Yeah, and certainly already one of the best lacrosse games of the entire season. And I have to say, I'm kind of a fan of the low score. It just adds a little bit more value and importance to each goal that we don't normally see with lacrosse.
Well, you know what? It's kind of like, did you ever see the 2014 Godzilla movie?
No, I can't say I have.
Well, first of all, you should. But second of all, one of the things they did is that they actually showed as little Godzilla as possible in that movie. He only gets something like 8 total minutes of screen time, as Ian McIntyre is a kaiju in the net. But they gave him as little screen time because the less you saw him, the more important he was.
It certainly adds an effect, and it just, every time that they're down there, it really kind of gets the crowd on their feet, and it's something that I love. You can't really replicate that type of atmosphere.
Also, great movie, just saying.
I'll add it to my list.
Yeah, we don't do too much movie talk on JDTV.
I'm not a huge movie guy, I won't lie, but
Yeah, me neither.
I've been getting into a little bit more of horror movies, so a little bit of more classics, but some more modern ones too. Huge fan of Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele is a very talented director. For some reason, there is a crossover between directors who can do both comedy and horror type things. As wow, there's a lot of tenacity demonstrated there by Aiden Bates, though he's muscled out.
Yeah, West Genesee making that trip to the goal a horror for Aiden Bates, just absolutely swarming him.
Well done. Like I was going to bring up Stanley Kubrick, did A Clockwork Orange, and also Dr. Strangelove, which is one of the funniest movies ever made. Highly recommend it.
But now the Red Rams getting a standing ovation, actually, from some of their fans on that excellent transition play to be able to get back on offense.
And we're seeing another common thread here with 2.5 minutes elapsed in the third quarter and only one stoppage or so. These guys just keep on playing.
Yeah, and the coaches really must not see any reason to call a stoppage. These teams so evenly matched, and it's just going to come down to who can execute more when they have the chance.
And right now, West Genesee holding on to it. Like we mentioned, time of possession is so crucial in a game like this. Also, they haven't started the clock yet for some reason.
Yeah, it looks like some type of some discussion going on with the refs between each other, whether or not they saw a foul or something with a stick malfunction.
We'll let you know if we get updated. Also, another factor to consider is just how cold it is today. And of course, we have a window open up here, so we know, but temperatures in the high 30s right now, low 40s. Yes, it is May 28th, and no, we're not happy about it either.
Yeah, I don't even really want to talk about the temperature right now. I discussed it in our last broadcast, girls lacrosse versus ESM. It's just, it's so disappointing.
But it's so hard as an athlete to, well, both mentally and physically stay warm when it's so cold, because it does cause you to lose reaction time. It causes you to lose small motor skills. Although West Genesee not as affected as the Red Rams would like.
Yeah, absolutely no sign of delay from the Colt on this possession. Just going right to work, perfectly set up, and drops it almost like an underhand scoop shot in a perfect placement.
And Jack Mellon has completed his hat trick.
And I think going into this one, if you had seen that the score was 4-2 this far into the second half, you would have thought Liam Burns might have been the guy with the hat trick.
No, it's a breakout performance for Jack Mellon, who now has 13 goals on the season.
However, actually, Mellon did have 2 goals in their last game against CNS.
So perhaps he's just on a hot streak.
And he's playing the role that they need him to play in a game like this. When the defense is both stifling hot, someone needs to step up. It's been Mellon so far tonight.
Jack Januzzi's pass intercepted by the Red Rams. And now Gannon Kessler is trying to set the tempo.
Been a long trip to the goal with no goals for the Red Rams. They really are desperate for a conversion.
And they won't find one there. The Wildcats off to the races. And West Genesee hopes to break this one open. 5-2.
Yeah, 2 goals in quick succession right now for the Wildcats. Come up huge on that turnover right into transition, and they get to playing the speed that they like to play this game.
We'll wait for the official announcement, but I believe that was Zach Ryan with his first goal of the season.
And now the Red Rams on their heels a little bit. They need to come up with a stop.
And they lose the face-off too, and the Red Rams have to stay, they have to prevent themselves from being demoralized.
And it can be difficult, too, especially in a game as physical and as demanding as this one, when that score finally breaks open and you let that little slimmer of doubt come into your mind that, hey, maybe this one's just out of our grip. That can really just infect a team.
The mental aspect of the game is one of the hardest to keep up because it doesn't matter how well you physically train yourself. Mentally, you have to stay 100%. And Ian McIntyre asserts himself once again. And it's amazing the power of those shots goes all the way to midfield off of the stick of someone like McIntyre.
Yeah, and probably about 30, 40, maybe 30 yards up in the air. But thanks to the efforts of Sam Brazel, flipping that one up behind his head, JD able to get that possession, and they are just really desperate right now for a goal.
Can the Red Rams assert themselves in this one? Well, there's a big wipeout from Aiden Bates, who is being muscled around by Ryan Mahoney and forced into the corner. And it looks like the referee wasn't a fan of that much contact.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there really was much as contact as Bates really just kind of tripping over himself. Could have been the turf monster. We haven't seen him come out much, or they, excuse me, but I guess on that possession they were lurking.
The turf monster, a worthy foe of Godzilla, I'd say.
I think that takes down Godzilla 9 times out of 10.
Really? I guess if Godzilla trips, he's in trouble.
What's Godzilla got to do to the turf?
I mean, he's got... Speaking of Godzilla, it looks like Gannon Kessler has breath of fire as well.
And when they needed him the most, Gannon Kessler, the returning junior, one of the heartbeats of this offense, he gives them some life. Just when you thought Jenny was going to crack this thing open, JD's staying alive.
Kessler keeps this one, but within 2, the second assist of the day for Matt Keeler.
Yeah, and Keeler's never been one to really light up in the goals category, but he does such a great job elsewhere in setting up his teammates and uses that speed of his to really draw in defenders.
Matt Keeler, a very valuable utility man as the Wildcats on the attack.
Restrooms are available in the building.
But now it's up to the Red Rams to stand tall against this mighty Jenny offense and be able to string together a couple of stops and turn them into points.
Mighty is certainly one word for it, and it's an accurate one. As Zach Ryan, behind the X, playing some stop and go. Matt Keeler forces him to pass it out. And Jack Mellon can't get anything going either. And a little hit from behind certainly helps out Ian McIntyre. Now Charlie Lockwood will take his turn. And Charlie Lockwood makes this a 3-goal game.
And just when JD got that stop they needed, unfortunate turnover and just beautiful execution, and able to just
Wildcat goal by number 2, Zach Ryan.
cash in on the opportunity.
Assisted by number 31, Charlie Lockwood.
They give the goal to Zach Ryan, his second of the game and the season, though the first assist by Charlie Lockwood. Of the game, anyway. That's his 7th of the season.
Man, and that face-off, hard to tell really who ended up with that one. Neither team could really get that one off the ground.
They called a draw.
A draw may be on the scoreboard, but at least on the box score, but that'll go to West Jenny.
So I guess you'd call it a West Jenny face-off then.
Yeah, and now a flag on the field. Looked like Brazil kind of hooked him with the end of his stick.
And like we said in the first half, the Red Rams have to watch their penalties against a team like this. You have to play clean lacrosse, or else you're going to give up more opportunities.
Especially now that you're down as well. More important than ever that you play clean and don't hurt yourself in hopes of trying to come back.
And it's so natural for athletes to take it out on their opponents. You can't do that either. You have to stay calm and composed, cool as a cucumber. And right now, it is the Wildcats who remain cool as a cucumber, going up 7-3 and hoping to crack this one open.
Yeah, safe to say they have taken control of this game coming right out of the second half. They had a lot of energy, and really off a couple key turnovers, they've now got everything going in their way.
The Wildcats trying to string together their first win against the Red Rams since 2015.
And for the Red Rams, I don't want to overemphasize or overreact to a game like this, but these type of games can be the ones that are season defining. When you've struggled in the past against really good competition, you have an opportunity again to play a really good team on your home turf, and you're down, you got to be able to show some fight.
Well, the Red Rams will always be a good team. I think that's fair to say, but the question is, will this season be a team that is good or a team that is great? Last year's season, they were absolutely great. And Ian McIntyre remains a great goalie, but will the rest of the team catch up to him?
Yeah, and this team is more than capable of achieving that, and you know the standards that they hold for themselves are high. But it's in moments like this that you really find out what exactly you're made of.
Couldn't have said it better. That's why we pay the big bucks, Nick.
That's right.
Those JDTV millions.
The concession stand pizza.
Yeah, I bought the one I bought for you.
That's exactly. That's what I'm saying.
As Gallagher sends it out.
You know, maybe we can get a sponsorship with a local pizza shop. You know, I already know this is too much to ask for, but you know, we can do a sponsored review every broadcast.
Well, you know, I've been pushing for something like that for years. The only thing is we didn't move more with the sponsorships just because, like, you know, it's no secret to you that our manpower changes every game for the most part. And we didn't want to promise anything we couldn't deliver if someone wasn't there to, like, do a certain graphic or something like that. But
Fair enough.
hey, if you want to give us money, I mean, we got a comment section. Give us a call.
But Kessler there just had a great chance looking right down at the goal, but that one again just slips right by him. And it's little things like that that ultimately come down to decide these close games. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, maybe every game, different slice, different flavor of pizza. You know?
I'd be down with that.
We can review it.
I mean, if I literally didn't spend all of my free time on preparing for the next JD TV broadcast, I'd love some more JD TV content.
But there it is again. I feel like a broken record. They have these fast break opportunities where they're moving in transition, and you can see their eyes start to widen, but they just can't quite cash in.
Well, I think, too, the last time that they played West Genesee, and they had a total shot percentage of about 27%, which is serviceable but not excellent, and it seems they're on the lower scale of that again as a timeout is called.
And that's probably, well, a timeout by West Jenny, but certainly something that Coach Archer is going to want to talk over with his guys is getting those clean looks.
And you know, that's a perfect segue into tonight's JD score report.
You're really not letting that go, huh? The score report?
No, I like the soft tee.
Okay, all right. That's real. All right.
You know what? We have a comment section here. Let us know, hard or soft tee on the report. I think that it sounds better if it's both a soft tee, but, you know, that's just my personal opinion. You'd let us know. So taking a look at this, it's a little bit biased because the Red Rams have only taken 6 shots from this far away, which is, they've hit 4 out of 6, which is why it looks so good. But it does seem that the Red Rams do best right up the middle. That being said, they actually do slightly better from the left side, which you would think maybe, like we talked about earlier, they're facing more left-handed goalies. But that's not necessarily true, considering you're going to find more right-handed goalies. What I suspect to be the case is that from this left side, they go more for bouncers, which makes it harder for you to move your hands downward at that angle.
It could be, and it also plays into the fact that Jamesville-DeWitt is really, I don't know if we have any lefties on the attacking side of the field. So when you have that, it kind of sets you up a little bit easier on that left side and gives you a little bit wider of a target and probably lower you're more likely to shoot for.
So the Red Rams now down by 4. And it's certainly not the position they found themselves in against Victor, but it's not a comfortable one either.
Yeah, and really, West Genesee is very comfortable right now with the way they've played and the way they've set the tone within this second half. They've owned this third quarter, and JD's got to fight back. They've got to show some resilience and find a way to at least get this thing a little bit closer.
Well, there's still an entire quarter and change to play, so they're not out of the running yet.
Absolutely not. And these quarters last a pretty long time if you're able to string together good possessions. But they control their own destiny.
I mean, we saw what the Red Rams look like with momentum a little bit earlier. And they're scary. They can stand up to the best, including this West Genesee team. When momentum is on their side, when they have Lady Luck in their corner, there are very few teams in New York State who are better.
But the thing is, they're not always going to have Lady Luck in their corner, and they're not always going to have the momentum. So it's like I said, what do you do when you face adversity like this?
You got to make your own luck. As West Genesee passes it around and scores. That's River Audemul.
Yeah, and West Jenny showing no signs of hitting the brakes right now. They are just all go in this third quarter, and they have no reason to slow down.
That's Audemul's 11th goal of the season. You know, he's also the starting quarterback for the West Genesee football team. Not doing too bad either there. 544 completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 2 rushing touchdowns taken in by himself as well, so he's got wheels.
Yeah, and we see it so often with lacrosse being the last coming in the last season of the year. A lot of these athletes are playing different sports throughout the year, and it really only helps them when they get to a sport like lacrosse, where those same type of skills can be applied and are so versatile.
Well, what I find interesting is that so many members of the West Genesee team actually were on the regional championship hockey team for West Genesee. They made it all the way to states. I was privileged enough to call their sectional championship game, and let me tell you, that was a stellar hockey team. But for instance, Ryan Considine, who we haven't seen yet today, Dylan DeSena, who's the backup goalie, was just stellar to watch. Liam Burns was a hockey center as well. Jack Januzzi played defense.
And especially in a sport like hockey, where the game plans are very similar to something like lacrosse, you have to imagine that only benefits West Genny.
100%, as that is the end of the third quarter, and the Red Rams have some catching up to do. Down by 5 against one of the most ferocious teams in New York State.
And you can feel this thing just starting to slip away. They're just clawing at the edge of that cliff, holding on for dear life right now, and it's do or die in this fourth quarter.
Well, you know, my mind flashes back to what I was told by one of JD's assistant coaches at the very beginning of the season before the first game, and I asked him, how does this team look this season? And he said, young. The first thing he said to me is, it's going to take them time to gel, to learn to communicate, and to be able to work as a unit together. After all, most of this team is made up of juniors, several sophomores as well, very few seniors who are starting for the Red Rams. So when you get a group of guys who haven't really played together before, especially on the varsity level, it takes them time to really move like one. Now, it's a testament to their talent that they're currently 4-2, despite that communication breakdown, for lack of a better term. But if they want to contend against super strong, super talented teams like West Genesee, they're going to have to be able to move as one.
And you know, sometimes with a young team like that, it can take a game like this to really make you understand just what it takes to be an elite type of team. Even against, after playing Victor, playing ESM, now playing West Genesee, that's a really tough schedule of games back to back to back. But now it's, again, how do they respond, right? And sometimes with teams like this, it takes up until the end of the season. The one that comes to mind is even last year, the girls lacrosse team started the season 0-4, lost their first 2 regular season opponent matches against Fulton. They come back in the sectional championship and absolutely dominate. So this season is far from over, obviously, and so is this game. But it sometimes could take even up to the very end of the year for teams to finally click.
We'll see if that's the case for the Red Rams, as we'll continue to bring you more JD coverage here on JD TV. Hence the name. And the Red Rams got off to a hot start with face-offs, but they've been giving them up over the last few trips back to midfield.
Yeah, and you look at that as a key to the momentum swing that we've seen in favor of West Genny. Owned probably the last 4 of 5 face-offs, all gone in their favor, and they've just taken advantage of every single one.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. That's exactly why West Genny is up by 5. And I mean, the legendary status of this team cannot be overstated. 15 state championships, 34 sectional championships. I mean, the Red Rams have plenty with 5 state championships and 16 regionals. Actually don't have a number of sections because, I mean, if you win regionals, you win sections. But even compared to that, I mean, this team has a track record unlike any other in pretty much the entire country.
Yeah, and you know, if Jamesville-DeWitt has owned the last decade, Genny has probably owned the last 3 or 4. You know, just given the fact that their last losing season was over 50 years ago from last year, is just a testament to the consistency of a program like this. And, you know, there's a reason there's a drill named after West Genny that's used nationwide.
There's a reason why the high socks are pioneered by this team and later adopted by other professional clubs. I mean, this team, they're trailblazers. In fact, since the New York State rankings began in 1977, West Genesee has never been out of the top 25. The lowest they have ever been in New York State was 22nd.
That is ridiculous, and that's so hard to even fathom at the high school level because you have teams and classes of all different talent levels, all different sizes, different types of personalities, and yet year in and year out, you're able to glue those together and find success.
And Ian McIntyre finds some success there in the net. I've got more stats that'll possibly be unfathomable.
Just keep them
for
coming.
you. How about this? Since 1977, West Genesee has been one of the top 10 teams in New York State 37 times.
So that's what, within the last 50 years, at least 30 of those, they've been within the top 10?
In the last 37 out of the past 50 or so.
We're talking almost 80% of the time they're a top 10 team within New York State.
That's correct. How about top 3, you may be wondering? I'm going to cover this up. Take a guess. Out of those years, how many times are they top 3?
We're talking 50. They were 37, top 10, 37 times. I'll say 15 within the top 3.
Try higher. Try 26.
I'm not really sure what to say. Like, just the ability to withstand that over all of those years, all of the advancements to the game, and how this has evolved.
By the way, that was an absolute laser beam from Gannon Kessler, well defended by Shane Stout. Got to give him some credit there.
But man, I mean, you could probably just go on and on with the statistics, and we could probably create a podcast just talking about this West Genny program. But you can see why when it comes to games like this against top competition, they're so experienced and they're just ready for whatever comes their way.
And you know, the funny thing about that is this is actually a first-year coach that West Genesee has here. Eric Burns, he's in his first year. He was an All-American player with West Genesee. It was their legendary head coach, Mike Messier, who retired in 2015, and the program's kind of been in flux since then, trying to find a consistent coach. But right now, it's looking like Eric Burns has definitely asserted himself as a candidate for a permanent role.
It would be hard to say otherwise, but a couple of flags just flew on that one possession. Looked like one of the Red Rams just kind of whacked him over the top in the head with the stick, which was not taken lightly by the fans.
Well, you can't whack. You can check, but you can't whack.
At least not to the body. You can whack to the stick.
Yeah.
But when it gets anywhere outside of that, that's when you get dicey.
Especially not to the head.
But the officials really tonight have been exceptional, just letting these teams play, calling the right calls when they need to be, enforced. So just a treat to have such talented refs be able to let this game play out.
And right now these two teams are, well, West Genesee especially is kind of slowing it down as they have the 5-goal lead, their biggest lead of the entire game. And they don't have to be scoring, but they'll take chances if they can. But it doesn't matter when Ian McIntyre's in the net.
That might be his most impressive goal save, at least tonight. That's point-blank range, standing face-to-face with the West Genny attacker, and he still comes up with the save.
It's incredible. I mean, Ian McIntyre is a human highlight, really, has been all season, but he continues to assert his dominance.
Yeah, Florida Southern has a gem in Ian McIntyre.
It's a great D2 program, too. Very successful. Florida Southern is located in, I believe, Lakeland, Florida, which is just north of Orlando. I called some of their girls' basketball games, actually.
I mean, you've been everywhere, so
I have been everywhere.
I'm not surprised.
Well, it wasn't for Florida Southern. It was for Nova Southeastern University, who's in their conference.
But things getting a little chippy, and they've been kind of physical all night. And again, we talk about the refs just letting them play, but you can tell neither of these teams wanting to lose.
And that's that competitive spirit that will keep you in a game like this. That's what coaches look for, and that's certainly something that Jamie Archer promotes on this Red Ram squad. Although another turnover. These turnovers have been killer. Though Ian McIntyre reigns supreme.
I just shake my head every time as if I'm shocked, but why should I be? I mean, just putting on a clinic here tonight. But they've got to find a way to turn that momentum that they get from these highlights and turn them into goals. But this West Genny defense has just been stout.
I think it all comes down to the turnovers. The Red Rams need to maintain time of possession, and they cannot give the ball back to the Wildcats.
And not only that, but you look at just the physical size of this West Genny defense. I mean, some of these matchups, and again, these are young Jamesville-DeWitt players, but some of these matchups are just not in their favor.
I mean, we talked about Ian McIntyre being a small goalie. He's 5'8". Shane Stout is the exact opposite. He's 6'2", 175. And Stout makes another stop.
Yeah, you can see he used every single inch of his height there to be able to reach out and snatch that one.
And now the Wildcats on the move. They're slowing it down. Like I mentioned, they want to eat up the time of possession.
Yeah, and it's so tough in a game like this. When you have control, I mean, there's not much else that you can do, at least on defense as well. You just have to sit there and wait for them to make a move and hope that you're able to create a turnover. But West Genny has earned the right to play slow.
And Luke Patchen trying to hold truth to power here, guarding Liam Burns, who, you know, a compliment for the Red Rams tonight. Liam Burns has not scored.
You know, that's an impressive feat by itself.
He has an assist, but he has not scored a goal. Same with Charlie Lockwood.
And that would be a great statistic to look at if they weren't down 5 goals. So obviously it's come from somewhere else. But then again, that's more of a testament to West Genny, just more of a next man up mentality. You know, they shut down your best attacker. Great, we got a couple more guys that could score a hat trick on any given night.
Well, you know, people would say the same thing about the Red Rams. And you got to look for the little things when you're losing a game like this. If you're the Red Rams, you want to take the small victories out of a loss.
And especially that being a younger, inexperienced team, you have to. You can't let these type of games crush you. You can be upset with the result, but you can't let that defeat you.
Exactly, and I mean, hey, shutting down their top 2 scorers, that's a victory.
And obviously they still have chances right now to draw this thing closer. So if I'm the Red Rams, I'm doing everything in my power to get more goals up on that board.
And they will attempt to do so. That's Matt Keeler trying to set the pace.
But you can tell a little bit by their body language, just not quite hustling the way we saw them doing it in those first couple quarters.
And there's a big opportunity there that could not be converted upon.
And that's really been the story of tonight. The opportunities were there, but just unable to cash in on a lot of them, which has come back to bite them.
And now the Wildcats playing golf. Scooped up by Lockwood. Three minutes left in this contest. And it does feel like the results are in the cards.
And obviously we can't confirm anything when there's time still left on the clock, but you can just kind of tell the body language from the Red Rams just doesn't quite look as energetic as it was in those opening quarters.
Certainly not. And when you get into that mindset of, okay, we're probably going to lose, that's when you lose. When you give up. Well, Ian McIntyre says never say die.
And if you have to be able to feed off that type of play and that hustle, you see your goalie make an incredible save almost every possession. And you got to be like, okay, I'm going to go down and do the same thing on offense now. I'm going to create a highlight reel goal, or I'm going to do something for my team that's going to give us a chance to win.
And Matt Keeler attempted to, but it was deflected by Stout. And once again, Ian McIntyre remains the brightest star on this Red Ram squad. And to think he's only a junior.
Yeah, he's got quite a bright future ahead of him, but so does this kid right here, Gannon Kessler.
And Gannon Kessler connects for his second of the day.
Number 10, Gannon Kessler. On assist.
That's 20 goals on the season now for Gannon Kessler. I'm thinking, we haven't given him a nickname yet. I'm thinking the Cannon.
That's a pretty solid one. The way he's able to fire out some of those shots, they come in at Mach 10. And you could certainly see why on that one.
Cannon, Gannon Kessler.
But that's the type of fight.
Gannon the Cannon, actually. Yeah, I like
There you
like
go.
that.
There
Yeah.
you go. But that's the type of fight and the energy that you need on this Red Ram squad. Okay, sure, you're down 4 with 1:30 left. Who cares, right? Go out there and give it your best effort until that buzzer sounds so that you can hold your hat really high and say, hey, we gave it our all despite the scoreboard.
And I think that's what Jamie Archer is about to tell this team as the Red Rams take a timeout with just over 1:30 remaining in the game. Why don't we take a look at what day it is? Because we don't get this enough on the broadcast, honestly.
Yeah, it's not often we end up getting to this graphic, so let's use it, right?
Yeah, it's take your kid to work day. Not anything either of us can celebrate, but
Correct.
and honestly, considering it's like 8-something p.m. right now, it's a little too late for most people.
But you think people really do that?
Yeah, my parents did when I was a kid.
They took you to work?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they let me, sit in the conference room and play around with the office supplies.
Nice.
I mean, really, the fun of it is getting to go through the office supply cabinet. And, you get all the Post-its and the staples that you want.
That's
See
right.
what you can make out of them with the
Create
paper clips.
Yeah.
It's also, speaking of, it's National Superhero Day, and Captain Paperclip is now one that I'm thinking of.
Who is that?
I don't know, I just made it up.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, Captain Paperclip.
Write it down. Pitch it to Disney.
Also, it's National Blueberry Pie Day. What's your favorite type of pie, Nick?
Oh, man. See, this is a discussion that can really get controversial and you can lose some friends on a type of conversation like this. But I have always been and always will be a pumpkin pie kind of guy. I will get a lot of hate for it, but I'll stand by it. In the fall, you can eat it Thanksgiving, Christmas, pretty much year-round. It doesn't get talked about enough. We need more pumpkin pie.
Well, as long as it's not pumpkin spice, because I feel like pumpkin spice is so
No.
oversaturated in the market now.
Absolutely not. I can't do pumpkin drinks. Those really don't sit well with me. But a good pumpkin pie, I can probably eat the whole thing in maybe an hour.
I tell you what, my mom makes this pie. It's a chocolate chip pudding pie, which I really don't think I've tasted a better one. It's vanilla pudding with chocolate chips. You get an Oreo crust as well.
I can't say I've ever heard of that, so that's definitely a one-of-one type pie. You think she could send some up here?
I know the recipe.
All right.
Tell you what, maybe that's how we'll finish out our JDTV season.
Chef Gelfand.
I can hold my own in the
All
kitchen.
right. Let's see it then. We can do what we can do. Yeah, last game of the season, we'll do a review.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Yes, we will have chocolate chip pudding pie on our last game of the season. That's how we'll send us off for the summer, as West Genesee now calls a timeout. If you have any other types of pie that you think we should be trying out in our season finale, let us know in the comments. We are looking at them. And by the way, we do appreciate there's been over 500 of you who have checked out this game today. And we appreciate every single one of you for joining us here for JDTV. Of course, I'm Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams. On color commentary today, Nick Dekaney. On camera is Mikey Meskos. Holding it down, bringing this to you live exclusively on JDTV.
Nice to have a full three-man crew today.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
And when you see those type of numbers, you see 500 people are able to watch this type of broadcast. That only makes you want to do it even more because you know the quality that we're bringing in, how much people appreciate this, and it just really, this is what it's all about.
It's all about quality content, but quality lacrosse like this. The type of competition we're able to bring you. And speaking of, you'll want to join us for our next JDTV broadcast, which will be Saturday at noon, because the baseball team will be taking on Fayetteville Manlius.
Oh, that's going to be a doozy.
Oh, it will be.
I tell you, this baseball team is shocking some people this year. Won their last two, won the series against Oswego earlier this week, who's also a top sectional opponent.
Held their own against Cortland, who they did lose that game, but they held them to their lowest run total of the season.
And that's the only team they've lost to so far is Cortland.
They upset Auburn, and I think this game against FM has upset written all over it.
There's only one way to find out.
And that's to join us Saturday at noon. We'll be bringing you that broadcast with a little bit of help from our friends at CNY Stream, because unfortunately Nick has a track meet.
Roll your eyes.
Oh, yeah, he goes to nationals. Boo-hoo.
I feel like I should shout myself out.
You should.
Yeah.
You've got a microphone. This is your opportunity.
Chittenango, 1 o'clock, we'll be there. Running the 110 hurdles, 4x1 high jump. That would probably be one of the biggest shocks of my life. If someone came up to me and was like, oh, hey, I saw you on the broadcast. I think that would be like, okay, I've made it, you know?
Well, you know what my feeling was? I've had a couple of, smaller kids ask me for an autograph.
Really?
Yeah.
At JD or otherwhere?
Elsewhere, but that's when I was like, okay, I think I've made it. It's when the kids come up to me for an autograph. I've been practicing for this moment.
That's right, yeah.
My signature is pretty good.
Set up a charity event. Maybe a meet and greet, perhaps.
Well, that's not exactly a charity event unless you're donating to me, but...
Well, I meant two separate events.
Yeah, Lord knows I could use it.
The life of a college student.
As there's 10 seconds left in this contest, and they're going to compete until that final horn. But that's all she wrote. A low-scoring affair and a tough loss as the West Genesee Wildcats defeat the Jamesville-DeWitt Red Rams for the first time since 2015. 7 years since we last saw this, and even longer since we saw a contest with this few goals between these two squads.
And again, I'll stand by. I was a fan of this type of lacrosse. Gives a new type of meaning to each and every goal. But both of these teams have absolute stout defenses, and it was a privilege to be able to watch that on display tonight.
Stellar goalie work by both Shane Stout and Ian McIntyre. A hat trick for Jack Mellon of West Genesee. 2 goals for Gannon Kessler. 2 goals for Zach Ryan as well of West Genesee. There was quality lacrosse on display from both teams.
And I mean, what else did we expect? With 2 teams of this caliber, programs with this type of historic dominance, this was everything we could have asked for.
And we thank you for joining us here for it live on JDTV. My name is Sam Gelfand, the voice of the Red Rams. On behalf of my broadcast partner, Nick Dekaney, and all of us here at JDTV, have a very good night wherever you may be.